So let us do a little bit of more practice on loops by looking at few more questions. So let us look at this question. It says write a for loop to calculate sum of all the even numbers between 1 and 100. So earlier we were able to print all the even numbers between 1 to 100, and then we created a new list of all the even numbers or all the odd numbers between 1 to 100, and this time we want to calculate the sum of all the even numbers. So if we just take this problem as an extension of the previous problem, once we have the list, we can calculate the sum of all the elements in a list by using a sum function. I think sum function I have not shown you, so we'll see that. But at the same time, there is also one another standard approach to solve these kind of problems. So let us take a look at both those approaches. So if I want to write a traditional for loop for this, we'll say number for number in range of 1 to 100. I just want to create a new list which will say even numbers, and this is going to be an empty list, and I will append the number if it is even to the list which is called even number. So I'll say if append number, and this has to happen when a condition is met, and that condition is that the number has to be even. Okay, so I hope all of you follow this, and once this is done, I'm going to just print even numbers. Something is wrong. 2. Okay, so I got list of all the even numbers, and if I want to find, let me make it okay, fine. Let me come down here and say this is even numbers, and if I want to find the sum of all the elements in this list, then I can use a sum function. So you can use sum keyword and then pass the even numbers list here, and I will get the sum of the numbers. This is one way of doing it, and let us look at another way of doing it, which is by using a variable that is initialized with 0, and then every time we have a number, we are going to add that number to the variable. So um, you'll understand it better with the example. So I'll say sum of numbers, and I will call it 0, and then again I'm going to write for number in range 1 to 100, and if number is even, okay, once the number is even, then what do? I'm going to add that number to sum of numbers. I'll say sum of numbers is equal to sum of numbers plus number. Okay, so try to understand the logic here. Sum of numbers is going to be 0. When the first even number is detected, it is going to get added to this sum of numbers. So this sum of number is going to become 2, because 2 is the first even number. And the next time a even number comes, which is 4, so 4 will get added to 2. So it becomes 6. Then again we'll get an even number which will be 6. 6 will be added to 4, so it will become 10. So we'll keep adding until this loop runs. So let me print the sum of numbers here, and I should get the exact same answer that I got earlier. This is also one way of writing the same code. When we are trying to find the sum of something, we can initialize that variable as 0 and keep adding. Now one interesting thing here is that this line can also be written in an alternate way, which you will often find people writing: plus equal to number. So this line also means that sum of numbers is equal to sum of numbers plus a number. So if we have a statement like x is equal to x plus, suppose we have x is equal to 10, and if we write x is equal to x plus equal to x, okay, or x plus equal to 1, and if we print x, we are getting 11. So this line is the same as writing x is equal to x plus 1. These two lines are exactly same. Two different ways of writing the same thing. Very often you will find people writing like this. So I've shown you both the examples here. Okay, suppose we wanted to find product of all the numbers between 1 to 100. So I can take the same code here, and instead of doing plus equal to, I can say multiplication equal to, and I will get product of all the numbers between 1 to 100. Okay, so here I need to start it with 1. Okay, so this is the product of all the numbers from 1 to 100. Feel free to verify this yourself separately. Let us take another example. So the question is that we have a list of student names: Anil, Sunitas, Aman, Ravi, Asha, and Suresh, and I want to write a for loop to print only those names which start with A. So we'll apply a filter. Again, this is a filtering question. So I'll say for student in student names. Let me store this as a variable first in order to access it. So I'm going to call it list of students, and then I'm going to say for student in list of students. Sorry, I need to run this list of students, and let me just print student. and it is printing the name of all the students, but I want to print only those students whose name is starting with A. Again, these type of problems are called as filtering problems. So I'm going to say if, and I need to check the first character of student. So if the first character of student is equal to A, in such a situation, I'm going to print the name of the student. So I'm getting this. Now, instead of printing, if I want to append it to a list, or if I want to create a new list with name of those students whose name is starting with A, in that case, I can take the same code and I can initialize. We can say new list, or I can say sublist. I can initialize that as an empty list. And then when the condition is met, instead of printing, I can say sublist dot append student. And then if we print the sublist, we are getting a list with the name of all the students whose name is starting with A. So um, this type of selection of few elements from a list is called as filtering a list, and this is a very common operation that you will find yourself doing very often. Let us do one more problem. This time we will look at writing a loop for a dictionary. So we have been given a dictionary which is representing expenses. So we have some expense for rent. Sorry, let me copy this and store it first. So it says we have some expense for rent, some expense for groceries, some for transport, and some for utilities. I need to write a for loop to calculate the total monthly expense. So this is a very similar problem to this problem what we have done earlier, except we don't have a list, we have a dictionary, and we want to calculate the sum of all the values. So there's a very simple way we can convert this dictionary to a list of values by doing expenses dot values. Okay, so we got the values. We can then run a loop on this. We can say for expense in this, and we want to find the sum of all the values. So we can say total expense, and we can start with 0, and then we can say total expense is equal to total expense plus expense. Okay, and if now we look at the total expense, we are having 25,000. So 15 plus 5, 20 plus 3, 23 plus 2, 25. So this answer is absolutely correct. And in fact, we don't have to do this, because if we already have expense dot values, this is already there. So we can do a sum on this. I hope without converting it to a list, it should work. Yeah, it is working. So we can do a sum here itself and we can get it. But if you want to write it using a for loop, we can do it this way. And if you want to iterate, and if you want to iterate on a dictionary, I've shown one example earlier, please refer to that, where we can iterate using dot items if you want the key and the value both. But here I was not interested in the key, so I just iterated on the values. But usually you will find yourself iterating sometimes on the key, sometimes on the values, sometimes on the items. So items will give you keys and values both as a list of tuple. Let us do one more question. And this question says that I want to write a for loop to generate and print the multiplication table of 5. So if you remember, in childhood we used to write multiplication tables. So we used to write them like this: 5 ones are 5, and then 5 twos are 10, something like this. So I want to print a multiplication table of 5 like this. Again, this is going to be a loop, and 5 is going to be constant because we are trying to write multiplication table of 5. But this 1, 2, 3, this is going to change. So that is where we are going to iterate. So let us write a for loop for this. We'll say for, let me just say for I in range of 1 to 10, because when we write a table, we usually write it from 1 to 10. You can take 20, 30, 40, it's your wish. So what are we going to print? We are going to print 5 times I. So this is giving me the table 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, like this. But I don't want to print like this. I want to print the table. So I can use f string here. So let me write a f string here, and what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to say 5 times I is equal to, and I'm getting the multiplication table of 5. So here I'll give you an assignment. Try it on yourself, where we can take the input from the user. Suppose we don't want to print the multiplication table of 5, instead we want to print the multiplication table of 10 or 15. So take the input from the user. Let me write that question. So you can use the input function. So when the user enters a number, you can use the input function, then you can typecast it to integer, and then you can write the same loop here, except instead of 5, here you will have to use the dynamic value of the value that user has given. So try to solve this on your own. Let us try one more question. And this question says that we want to write a for loop to count the number of vowels in the string Incredible India. So if you know about vowels are these characters A, E, I, O, and U. So we want to iterate on this string. For every string, I want to check whether that character belongs to is either one of A, E, I, O, U. And if it is that, then we are going to count it. Otherwise, we are not going to count it. So this is slightly different from everything we have done. Let me say vowels here. Let me store that as a variable. And then I'm going to write a loop. I'll say for character in text. And let me store the text also. Let me say text is what has been given to us. Okay. And character in text, I want to see if the character in, and I'm going to use vowels. You know, in character is used to check the membership. So if I say, for example, A in vowels, I will get true because A belongs to vowels. A character is there. But if I say F, then I'm going to get a false. So by using this condition, I'm checking whether the given character belongs to one of A, E, I, O, U or not. If it belongs to that, then we are going to count it. So how are we going to count it? So for that, we need to initialize a counter variable. This is again a standard practice, and you can do it in other ways also. You can append it to a list, then you can find the length of the list. I've shown you earlier, but this is a standard practice to have a counter variable. And every time we find that character, we are going to increase the counter by 1. We're going to say counter is equal to counter plus 1. So first time we get a vowel, counter will become 1. The next time I get it, it will become 1 plus 1, which is 2. Next time we get it, it will become 2 plus 1, 3. So every time we get a character which is a vowel, we will increase the counter by 1. So this is how we can end by end of the loop, we'll have the value of the counter will be number of vowels we have found. Now there is a small problem in this code, but let us run this and see first what happens. Text is not defined because I did not run this cell. So we are getting counter as 5, but if you count in the text how many vowels are there, we have 1 I, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There are 7 vowels, but in this code we are getting only 5. Why? Because the two of the vowels, which is I and I here, they are capital letters, and we have not included the capital letters here. So that is a problem. So we can solve this problem in two ways. One is that we can change this vowels. Instead of having vowels like this, we can say that vowels is equal to A, E, I, O, U and A, E, I, O, U. We can do it this way. This is going to work. If now we are getting the correct answer, which is 7. We can comment this out, that is fine if that is confusing you. And there is another way to do it, which is to not make this change. Let it be only small characters, and before checking this character, we just convert it to lowercase. This is also another way of doing it. So before checking the character, we will make sure that character is in lowercase. So when we have I and we convert it, I hope you remember this from the discussion on strings. So if we do this, this becomes I. And if it is already small, then nothing is going to happen. So before checking, we are converting the character to lowercase, and then we are checking whether it belongs to vowels or not. Or you can have your vowels include small characters and capital characters, but this is a more clean way of doing it so that you don't have any kind of repetition. You just need to maintain the list of all small characters. There is no repetition of having small character and capital character because this might be prone to mistakes. So this is also one interesting integration of string concept with for loop and the counter variable, etc. So I hope you got a good practice using all these questions now. So this is all in this practice session. We will learn about list comprehensions now and do some practice on that, where again we will look at similar examples. And any question that I'm showing you here, try to solve that using list comprehensions, which you are going to learn. And we are going to repeat the same concepts again a few more times and do more practice until the idea is completely settled. And then we will move on to other types of loops in Python. So see you in the next video. Thank you.